Matt Leinart,
What's up?
prominent TikToker, also Heisman winner.
You know what's funny, man? It's, you know what's so funny about that is when you win the Heisman, the first thing they say to you is like, hey, no matter what happens in life, you're always going to be a Heisman Trophy, which is pretty cool. And it's something I appreciate as I've gotten older. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm just kind of like going into the social media realm of TikTok and Instagram and trying to kind of build that up, I actually get stopped more now for my social media stuff.
That makes me want to vomit.
It's really strange. It's really strange. It is. It's like
I was joking you. That story, that's a hard story to hear. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. We got to remember, I'm 40, man. So I'm getting up there in age.
Yeah, but how many Heisman winners are there in the world?
80 maybe?
65, 70, yeah.
No, I know.
You know,
it's a harsh reality, man. When you have 3 kids, you're married, and life is different, dude.
Yeah, I would have lost my shirt for that.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun.
It is cool. You mentioned that there's no expiration date on the Heisman.
Yep.
Is the Heisman in the house, by the way?
It's not. So
okay.
I would bring it down. It was hanging in my closet for about 4 years. Underneath my wife's side of the closet, like underneath some dresses.
No, man.
True story. So Urban Meyer, who I work with at Fox, he's like, dude, he was here one day a couple years ago. He's like, is it true that the Heisman's in your closet? I go, Coach, it's in my closet, man. You want to go see? So he walks upstairs, and I literally pull her stuff out, and it's just sitting there on the ground. And he's like, and he made me take a picture with it, like get on the ground. He's like, are you kidding me, dude? This is your Heisman. I'm like, Coach, like, what am I gonna do? Like, put it up on a pedestal?
That's exactly what you do.
That's just not.
I get it. That's not who you are.
It's not. Yeah. Currently, my Heisman Trophy is at my high school, which is pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
We're the only high school to have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Can you name the other 2? Mater Dei High School.
Now I'm from North Carolina. The most.
Well, one is super recent.
Okay. Caleb. No.
Bryce Young.
Okay.
So Bryce Young went to Mater Dei, and then John Hewart.
Where did Caleb go to school? Is he
He's
from
from DC.
Oh, he's from DC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John Hewart won the Heisman in '64 from Mater Dei. Went to Notre Dame, so won at Notre Dame.
One of them.
Yeah. And then I won in '04, and then Bryce just won it, and so it was really cool. We did like a kind of Heisman Day for Bryce, kind of welcoming him into the Heisman Club at Mater Dei. So they asked to borrow it, and it's still there. So it's in their trophy room, and I just I love my high school, so I just kept it there.
That's kind of.
Plus, I don't need it here.
That's a cool connection because obviously Reggie also won the Heisman. A good friend of yours went to high school with Alex Smith.
Yeah.
So having 3 Heisman, I would imagine you have a cooler high school story than he does now, which is pretty amazing.
I do, and Reggie, so he went to Helix in San Diego with Alex, and they had a good squad. And
you think?
But not to the level of Mater Dei. Just not. And it's just facts. Like I'm not even just saying that. And especially now. And he's still like I love Reggie, but he talks smack about everything. He just thinks I'm like, dude, Mater Dei would beat Helix now 80-0. Like it just like we literally would beat them 80-0. And like back then I said we would have whooped your ass too. Like and we talked smack. But they had a good team. Alex was good, obviously.
I got to give your high school flowers because growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, I was aware of Mater Dei because they had a kid named Shea Cotton.
Oh God.
And
the sickest high school player I ever seen. He was my brother's year.
I guarded him when he went to St. Thomas More. I was at New Hampton, and it was before the age of social media, so you didn't, nowadays you're familiar with all of the top players. Shea Cotton was like legendary in high school.
Dude,
and he's a Mater Dei kid, right?
He's a so he left, but it's funny you mentioned him because my brother was a hooper, baseball coming into Mater Dei. Mater Dei then, still good, but then was like basketball powerhouse, right? They get everybody.
Illusion Man was another kid.
Yeah, Luge, Illusion Man. I played, used to play pickup with him all the time.
He was awesome.
So Shea's the same year as my brother. He's 96, high school. He came in. My brother was like, all right, I might play.
Right.
My brother was like taking charge, defensive guy. Like he was just a hard-nosed bruiser kid. And Shea comes in, and he goes, whoop, there goes my career. So he quit. Shea came in, 6'5", lefty, just 40-inch you played him.
Yeah.
And
built like LeBron.
I was like 10, and I remember you used to go in the games, and I'm like, Shea Cotton was the greatest thing high school basketball saw in that era. And it was just, obviously a lot of stuff happened, and it didn't pan out. But I actually tell my older son who plays basketball, I showed him his highlights. I'm like, dude, you got like this kid was like he was the. And then I think they did a doc on him, like all the like I think Baron Davis, Paul Pierce were like, dude, this kid was the truth. Yeah,
I was on the radio and actually had Shea come on to talk about it just because our paths had crossed and I guarded him.
He was so good
in high school, and I was like, there was a little bit of a difference.
How'd you guard him? Did he score?
He crushed me. Yeah. We beat them because we had a kid that ended up playing in the NBA for like 10 years. He's an assistant with San Antonio, and I think we had like 10 D1 signs there in prep school. So we were legit. We lost in the national title game, but his team was really good. They had another kid, Aju Dang, with Luau Dang was his brother. Like they were really good. But legend, cool. Modern day. So you gotta give your credit.
Shea was a beast, man. Shea was a beast.
So the Heisman's there. Do you have any? Because I have a funny story about guys that want to take pictures with the trophy. Because I will tell you, if the trophy was here, I would ask you if I could take a picture
with it. Oh, for sure. It's just not bad.
But do you have any stories of people wanting to take pictures with the trophy? Why you think? Because I'll tell you this.
Not really.
Really?
Urban was the funniest. Honestly, just because it's just sat here for years. It's like, no. And like, and I live in this town for, a decade. And like, it's very just low key. Like no one really cares, which is great.
Yeah, that's
why I'm here. It's just like, it's such a beach family town. But like, I told that story to Pat McAfee. Mm-hmm. That was the first time I told like,
not familiar.
Where's the Heisman? And I'm like, dude, in all honesty, it's in the closet.
Yeah.
He's like, let me see. I was like, I took my phone. I was like, here you go. And it was just like, and then I think that's what sparked like the urban thing. So not really.
Yeah.
But you got a Heisman story?
Kind of. I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. The Heisman, the Stanley Cup, maybe the Wooden Award, but I would just say the Heisman and the Stanley Cup are the two trophies that people literally will. Outside of the athletes, it carries its own presence. I want a picture with the Stanley Cup. I want a picture with the Heisman.
For sure. I mean, the Heisman is so unique, man. Like, there's just nothing like it. Like, it's funny you said it. Like, people are like Super Bowl MVP trophy, Super Bowl trophy, but like, there's just a Heisman trophy.
There's an allure.
It's
different.
It's so prestigious, and it's such a small, exclusive club. And the Stanley Cup has so much history and like.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. Do you agree though?
I'm trying to think of anything else. Like. I think as far as just a trophy and like how unique it is and when people see it, I think you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, when people do Heisman poses, they're posing like the trophy.
I know.
You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. But when I was in college, he's still one of my closest friends, but he was like my best friend in college. And, we worked out together in the summers. He lived with me in the summers is Jason Williams. And so he had won the National Player of the Year, and he had come back. And I remember the first year that we were hanging out, he had it in his apartment. Like, it was up on a bookcase or something. And he's like you, he didn't care. I mean, he had a ton of trophies. But this was back before the day of cell phones. Mm-hmm. Well, like, I was a junkie. I'm like, man, I'm hanging out with the National Player of the Year. Like, this is super cool. And we were friends, but, like, I was just getting to know him. And so I was at Duke camp, and I was working. He was just training. And so I'd have to work all day, and then I would play with the guys at night. And so one night, he was like, well, let's go out and hang out afterwards. And I was like, dude, I don't have any clothes. And he was like, oh, you can shower at my place, and then we'll just go. So I go shower, and I see the Wooden Award. And I'm like, man, I do have my bag. There's a camera in my bag. And so I'm gonna sneak a picture of this thing because I was like, I want to take a picture of this thing.
So you just selfied it? Like,
no, I just took a picture of the.
Oh, you just took the actual
joint that I saw it. But the problem was, and it was nighttime by this time. We were getting ready to go out. The flash was on. I didn't know it. The flash went off, and he was like, "Yo, what was that?"
Oh.
And so I had to tell him. He didn't care.
I don't even know what the Wooden Award looks like.
That's man. Sorry. Yeah. Well, it was. I think it's gone through a couple phases, but
is that our phone?
That might be mine. Yeah, I think that's my basketball one. Go get your ass up. Yeah, hoops. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But that was my whole thing of that was an awkward moment. But I loved the trophy so much, and that's not even the Heisman. Yeah. I was just wondering if people.
I wish I had it here for you, man.
Yeah. Well, I'll see it hopefully sometime.
You will. Yeah. I'll break it out of the case at the high school.
Is it nice though that? I guess it could be a double-edged sword. The Heisman, Matt Leinart Heisman winner. No expiration date on that. Like, I don't know if there's a better intro for you in your life. Like, accomplishment wise, right. I'm sure there's things that you want to accomplish, and you're doing a ton of things now.
Yeah.
But like, it just doesn't get better than that.
It's pretty like, it's a great honor to be a part of it. And again, I always tell this to everybody when they bring up Heisman and this and that. Oh, what does it mean? I'm like, when you win it, and it's not that you don't care. It's just you're young, and like I was 22, and like I knew what the Heisman meant as far as like, hey, it's the best college football player in the country. It's an exclusive club. All these past players, like guys I look up to, like it's just an incredible club. But like I was still going to play in the NFL. I was still like I didn't really think much about it.
Sure.
In that regard. Yeah. And they always said, I'm telling you, like you go back to the ceremony and just around those guys, the old timers, and they're like, Matt, as you get older, it's hard to explain. You'll just really appreciate it more because football kind of ends and you're on these different career paths. And so honestly, like as I've gotten older, I so appreciate it and the opportunities it's given to me. In all honesty, like my NFL career wasn't the best, wasn't what I hoped that would be, but you kind of always have that, hey, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. Hey, that's he won in 2004. Those SC teams were legendary, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's really cool to be a part of that, and I appreciate it much more now as I've gotten older. That like, wow, I was a part of something really cool, and I'm a part of this club that's really, it's just really cool to be a part of. And the guys in it, like, and Caleb had just won, and we went back to New York, and Carson was there. Carson makes a rare appearance. He doesn't get out much, but we were just there, and we're like, dude, this is freaking awesome, man. Yeah. Like, we represent a great institution, USC. One of our brothers just won, and he's going through this. Like, it's just one of those things that, like you said, there's no expiration date. You really learn to enjoy, and it's not like I go marching around, hey, I won that. It's just with you. It's with you forever, and it's a really, like, I'm really appreciative of that, as I embark on all these other things I'm doing.
Yeah, Mom, if you see this, please leave my Wake County Player of the Year award up in my house. Hey, man. Don't listen to this.
She's probably equally as proud of you as my mom was equally as proud of me of winning the game.
Yeah, it wasn't the Heisman, but it was the Heisman to me, bro. It was the Heisman to me.
That's all that matters.
Well, you bring it up. This is another thing, and we don't have to talk about Ja Morant particularly, but you win this award and you're a kid. And Ja's a very young guy, and he's in the news for making some choices that are, challenging and difficult. Maybe you made these mistakes, maybe you didn't. Social media didn't exist in that facet back then. How were you able to manage that? Because you came back to school after winning it.
Yeah.
So
it's a good question.
Yeah.
And so Facebook had just come out. But Facebook was like the first big kind of platform that came out in like 02 or 03, because I was at USC at the time. And I got first kind of dinged with social media with the sites that were coming up my rookie year in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So that was 2006.
What do you mean by dinged?
Pictures online.
Okay.
So stupid, like, and not even doing anything bad, like nothing, but just kind of this perception that I had going into the NFL of like LA and Hollywood and this and that, and like then it carried over to like this party boy, and it carried over into Arizona. And honestly, I think I got kind of screwed over and I got trapped by some people because I really didn't do anything wrong. But so to your point, when I came back, it wasn't hard because there was none of that existed. Literally the year later, it started. These things started popping up.
But you were, it's LA. You were a high-profile figure in Los Angeles. I remember seeing and hearing things,
Yeah, looking back now,
because that SC team was a pop culture team as well.
Yeah, it was. Look, I didn't really back. The easiest thing was like we were winning, so no one really cared. Like we were winning, so like
winning does cure a lot of things.
It really does. Like we weren't doing anything illegal. We weren't doing anything wrong.
Sure.
We were hanging out. We were kids. Like we were doing normal things that maybe you would do in North Carolina at a keg party. We were just doing it in Hollywood. It was just what we knew. It's all we knew. And like USC isn't this college town. Like it's just not. It's not a college town. There's not very many places to go. So you either go up to Hollywood or you have a frat party or something, but there's just not a lot going on really in that like radius, that 2-mile radius. So I never really worried about that stuff in college because we were winning and no one really cared. And we handled business, like that was a thing. Like Pete Carroll work hard, play hard, do your thing, stay out of trouble, you know, pass your classes, and just come ready to work and practice every day. And we did. Like, that was the culture we had. When I got to Arizona is when some of these, you know, social media still wasn't around, but camera phones, they had the flip phone, like that was starting to kind of, obviously those things were coming about.
Yeah.
And that's when like the social media stuff and just like that really hit me in a negative way. It really kind of derailed my career for a couple of years. Unfortunately, it really for nothing. Like I didn't do anything wrong. You know, you mentioned John, obviously he's young and figuring this out. For me, it was just, as now I look back, I'm like, you just got to surround yourself with people that have your best interest. And it's really hard in the moment because for me, I'm this, you know, first round pick. I got money. I got this sick house in Arizona. Girls, you have everything at your disposal.
Yeah, a lot of access.
You have access to everything, and your boys, who you love, and your boys, but they're like, shit, they got access too. So they're like, they're kind of living the life with you, and you're 22. You know, there's not very many 22-year-olds who are mature enough to understand. Like, hey, like there are a lot, but like in that moment, they're just,
of course,
you know. So I learned a lot about that time, and there were some years where I was like terrified to go out because of just a picture being taken, doing nothing, but like, you know, like just I was terrified to go out.
Paranoia.
A
lot on the line.
Yeah, a lot on the line. Like I wanted to play football. I'm trying to resurrect my career. I don't want to be labeled as this. It's kind of my fault, but kind of not. Like there's just all these things going on, and I honestly, as I got older, I just started caring less. I'm like, I don't really, really once I retired, I was like, dude, like, I'm not doing anything wrong, man. Like, I'm living my life. Like, I'm happy. Like, I met my wife, gosh, right the year I retired, so right then. And it took years and years, though, to get to that mindset and have that mentality because I just had been through the ringer, man. Like, been through the ringer for a few years in the NFL where I was just like, wow, like, how do I come back from this? And for me, it was like, work hard, be a good teammate, just be there. Every locker room I was in, like, I was like, dude, I loved everybody. I was all of them were my boys.
Yeah.
So they didn't really think that of me, but it was this big perception. So it was tough. But the social media stuff, you just got to be careful who you surround yourself with, and it can be taken from you just like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays people will sometimes, I think, look for the negative more than the positive. So, you know, I think that it definitely garners more attention when you do something negative than positive, and that's unfortunate. Do you think, because, and this goes back, I'm super curious, this is a selfish question, just because I have a very limited experience with college sports and then playing professionally overseas and stuff. You came back to school. Do you think it was more challenging to reach kind of the level that you got to, but then you had to maintain it? Like, what was more challenging for you in that? Because you did reach a level of success that like we're talking about less than 1% of guys that play your sport have ever.
You talking about in the NFL?
Anything.
Coming back, it was maintaining it.
Yeah.
Because I had probably, on paper and film, I was probably at my peak after my junior year.
Yeah.
Not physically. Like I was like, there's a lot of reasons why I came back.
You're in
to
your
school.
peak physically now.
But
now.
I honestly feel the best I've ever felt, which is sad. I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
When I came back, I had my reasons. I wanted to finish school. I love being in school. I was dealing with some injuries. There was a lot of things, and I wanted to win a third title. Like I was like, I want to be a part of the only team that could ever win 3 in a row.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was
shocked. If it
wasn't
wasn't for Vince Young, you know, my boy, we would have won. That year was very challenging for me, very challenging. And I came off the Heisman peak, right? Won a national championship peak. Like, where do you go from there?
That was my point.
And for me, my senior year, and Pete, I remember Pete sitting me down. He was like, I want you to focus this year on the NFL. And what I mean by that is, this is my senior year. I want you to start watching NFL film. Because I had already I wouldn't say like a next level in college, but like I was like, I played 2 years. I played a lot of football.
Well,
like,
you won the Heisman. You can say
I
you were
went
next
back
level.
to my senior year. Like I wasn't worried about, like I knew I would handle my business. Yeah. And that just going into that year. So he's like, I want you to start watching some film, you know, like, hey, start, you know, finding QBs, you know, just like starting to kind of just slowly get into that as the season, because the season's over, and then all of a sudden it's draft, combine, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I really found my senior year very challenging, man, like really difficult. And it was maintaining this level of play week in and week out.
Yeah.
One, the pressure that I just put on myself individually.
Yeah.
And then two, the pressure to win every single week. As you know, you're an athlete. It's really hard to stay on top as an athlete. You're an athlete, man.
Yeah.
It's very hard to win consistently.
Yeah.
Like, that's why when I look at like what Tom and the Patriots did and like Yankees and like some of these dynasties, like Alabama, Nick Saban, like it's tough, man. I don't care how good you are, the players, like it's just hard to win week in and week out. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and it's funny. One of the most iconic plays in USC is the Bush push, the Notre Dame game, and that was really when I hit a wall as far as like, wow, man, I am like not having a good season. Like I'll tell you a story. So like, the Bush push game, I played awful at Notre Dame my senior year. Everyone remembers the last 2 minutes. I made a
fourth down throw. Was
I made a throw. I made a throw to Dwayne. Again, at the end of the day, like that's it. It's all that matters.
Yeah, of course.
But that game was terrible.
I get it.
If you watch that game, you're like, oh shoot, Matt played awful. Like I didn't play good that game.
Yeah.
But I made the big throw, and we made the play at the end. And again, that's all that matters. But like I remember, like a huge weight just was like, oh, like thank God we won that. I never felt that before in the first 2 years. It was just because like maintaining this level of like everyone's chasing us. I remember the next day or 2 days later with Steve Sarkisian, who's now the head coach of Texas.
Yeah.
I was like, Sark, man, like I'm pressing, like I don't know what's wrong with me. And we just had like this hour conversation, kind of like loose talk, like, you know, take a breath, man. We're good. Like just had to kind of like take a step back. And it was just kind of like an aha moment for me. And the rest of the season I played really loose, and I, played well in the title game against Texas, and like I was pressing every week. I just wanted to be perfect. I'm like, I knew I was going to win the Heisman again. I knew Reggie. It was Reggie, and like I don't care about. I wasn't playing to win an award. I was playing to win another title.
Well, it's nice that you already had one.
Yeah. And then like I was projected to be maybe the number one pick in the draft coming out when Alex Smith ended up being. So I came back. So then there was pressure on me, like, gosh, am I even good enough? Like, what do I got to do? Like, you just never knew. So it was a tough year is dramatic, but it was a very challenging year mentally for me, for sure.
Of course, yeah. Do you think it was harder to, and I think you answered it, but the only reason I ask this is because I hear this a lot with artists, I hear this with business people of a lot of professions, and I think it crosses any kind of boundary of what you give your life to. Managing success or managing adversity? Because I always felt like managing success is way more challenging than adversity, because adversity is going to come no matter what. Success, it's kind of like what you feel is success.
I think I agree with you. I mean, success is it's one, it's tough to maintain, and then when you get a piece of it, you're like, you love it, and then it's all of a sudden like it can be taken from you in a heartbeat. And as you said, adversity it comes in all different shapes and sizes. Always, like no life is perfect. I think balance and learning to handling them both in the same way. You kind of like ebbs and flows in life, man. It's like my wife and I talk about, also like how do you define success? Like for me now, it's like being a great dad is.
That was the follow-up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's as I've gotten older, it's like it was so driven by stats and wins and football, like football, and now like it's really about winning in life. Like success in life is having a good marriage, is like, there's things like I'm a business guy, I have a job, like I want to be the best I can on TV. I'm learning, I'm a part of businesses and learning all these different type of things so I can kind of just expand my portfolio, I guess. But yeah, that's how I define success now, is like I want to be a good dad. I want my kids to say, God, Dad was awesome role model when I was growing up. And that's what success, and that's hard to do. Like with that comes a lot of adversity too. Like being a parent is tough, man. It's tough, but you learn and you grow, and you surround yourself with good people, good support system, wife, friends, and that's it.
Yeah. How was the transition from when playing football was over? Obviously you're still well ingrained, and you will always be ingrained just because of the things that you've been able to accomplish, and you seem to authentically love the game of football. How was that transition from going from a player now into the role that you're serving now?
Okay, so fortunately, it was a pretty easy transition for me. And
that's not always the case.
It's not. Yeah. It's very rarely the case. Yeah. And the only reason why I say that is because I was ready. I mean, I was just ready to get to end football. I just didn't want to play anymore. Mentally, I checked out. My last year, I was playing for a paycheck. I really I loved it, but I'm my son was growing up. I wanted to be home. I was I'm good.
Yeah, you had played football.
I'm good.
Yeah,
honestly, I was good.
Yeah.
True story. I just met my wife that year. I knew there was something there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of ready. I was 30. I'm ready for this next chapter. I'm okay. You know. So fortunately, I was okay with that. I had made money. I was just in a good place. I didn't have to oh, what do I do next?
Yeah.
But when you do retire, something that's all you've known your whole life, you kind of get the itch and okay, what do I do now? I don't want to wake up every day and what's my purpose in life? What do I do? What am I good at?
I struggled with that really bad.
Yeah, I still struggle with that. I'm in a better place, but it's still what am I good at? I've been pigeonholed into this yes sir, I'm a football player. I'm not this is all I know. Not that's just how I was.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to impress and do the right thing for other people instead of really hey man, I could be. That's why I respect Aaron Rodgers. Now, granted, Aaron is Aaron, so he can really do and say what he wants. But he doesn't really follow the pack. He just does his own thing, says what he wants, and I just never was that person. So finding my voice, finding something that I was passionate about, was challenging. Fortunately, I walked kind of right into Fox Sports. There was a lot of SC people there. They were kind of growing their college football stuff. They're like, hey, let's bring you in, audition, get you on a couple shows, see how you like it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really anything I thought I would do. I never thought I'd get into TV. Honestly, never really thought.
Yeah.
I did it. I liked it. I was doing a random show with Andy Roddick and Gary Payton and Ephraim Salaam, who's awesome. Krista Thompson was the host. It was just a funny, kind of all athlete, opinion show.
Yeah. Were y'all all in chairs on the stage?
We were all on just a set.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was back in the day. It was 2013.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got my feet wet. Donovan McNabb was on it, and that's how I got my feet wet. And then the next year, they started building out these college football shows, and I think I showed enough that they're like, okay, Matt's he could be good at this. Let's kind of keep him around, whatever. And so I'm telling you, I was really, really lucky. I had really great people, and still do, but at Fox, that believed in me from the get-go. I was a little rough around the edges, but because I'm just a laid-back guy, and you got a big person on TV and just personality. You gotta have personality. Yeah.
I struggle with that.
Yeah, you do. Let me tell you. So that was something that I learned. And that took time, just opening up. And so I was very fortunate to kind of walk into that job. And now I work my butt off to get to where I'm at now, obviously. But I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity, because not a lot of guys do. So the transition was easy in that regard. The transition of finding your purpose and just that is hard. And it's still challenging to this day. And I've been out of the league now for 10 years and still I want to do this, but am I smart enough to do this? I don't know what this means. You're always kind of, but I think that's good, because you're always constantly learning, you know? So
what's your favorite thing about doing what you do now? Well, actually, we'll go back. What was your favorite thing about playing football? It could have been in the locker room, could have been the guys.
Two things. Yeah. The competitiveness of playing sport, just anything, the competitive fire. I love competing. Yeah. Basketball, we've been talking about basketball. I love basketball. It doesn't matter. I just love compete. I love sports. I love how it brings out that competitive fire. Yeah. That was another thing that was difficult in transition. Is where am I going to find that? So I played in basketball leagues.
Yeah.
That brought
you got to put it into something.
You have to put it into something.
Yeah, it'll drive you crazy.
And then when I got on Big Noon Kickoff, it's super competitive, as you know, that industry, and it feels we're competing every week to be the best show on Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. We're competing with our boys, hey, let's have a great show, let's kick ass. We got 2 million people watching us today. It brings out those juices in a different way, but equally as fulfilling as playing for me. So the one thing I love is that, and then I love the locker room. I love the guys. Yeah. Football is so unique because there's 60 of us in there, different than any other sport, it's just a bigger eclectic group of personalities all over the country. Even when I was playing, I always loved that. And as I got a little older in my career, I was like the vet. I was like, I loved it. I loved getting to know kids. I loved where kids came from. And there's nothing like a locker room because you have one common goal, and that's to win, and that's to work together to win something. And those are the two things I miss without a doubt. I like playing and throwing, like that's fine, but I get that in my job now. Like we go on TV to win. We want to be the best show in America. Period. That's just what we want. We're going to compete. We're going to work our ass off during the week. How do we make our show better every single week? What are some things that I need to do better to make sure that I'm helping the team? Like it's very much being a part of a locker room, and I'm with guys that played and high level guys that played. I mean, we have one of the best coaches ever in college football. Reggie Bush, in my opinion, is the best college football player of all time. Brady Quinn is one of the best quarterbacks of all time in college. Like we have a great freaking locker room,
Definitely has a good head of hair on him. He's got the best.
He's like a Greek god. He told me he's a Greek god. So those two things I miss. I get it now. Not to the extent, but I do get it, which is very nice.
Yeah. You just celebrated a birthday recently, where it's kind enough to include me a little bit in that. But as you celebrate these milestones in your own life, if you look back at all of the amazing moments and accomplishments and different seasons of your life, what do you find outside of your kids? You've been very open about, your wife and your family and how much they mean to you. That aside, because I know that comes first, what do you find most rewarding of the so many accomplishments that you've had?
Wow, that's a good question. Outside of my family,
well, we've talked a lot about your family, and I know that that the answer you're going to give is going to be a distant second to that. Yeah. So I just wanted to give the disclaimer.
I think more so when I retired at 30, I was 30. I was really struggling to find just purpose, and like Fox was great, but it's built up to that. And as you get older, like the Heisman, you just appreciate things. You're like, I love my job, but you're still like struggling in there because my job is 4 or 5 months out the year. So like, what do I do from January to August? Sit on my thumbs, like I'm busy, but so probably the thing I'm most proud of is honestly recently at 40. Like it's taken me this long. Is like I'm diving headfirst into multiple businesses. Yeah. I'm a equity partner in multiple businesses right now, and I have one person to thank, and it's honestly my wife. My wife pushes me every day, every off season, find something to do, find a hobby, learn the guitar, like whatever, you know. So something I'm proud of. It's not the sports stuff, and like obviously being a dad is my number one, and a husband, and just I love that. But I think I'm proud that I'm kind of stepping outside my comfort zone and really trying to be an entrepreneur, be a businessman. It's not too late, I'm 40. I'm still young. I feel good, but it's not too late, and I want to continue to set that example for all my kids. So that's what I'm proud of, man. I'm proud that I haven't settled in that part, and it took me a while. It took me a little kick in the butt. Yeah. But I'm starting to find the purpose that I was searching for forever. It's like, okay, I can, like this NIL stuff. Okay, I'm involved with some stuff. Like I love this stuff. Like I love it because I lived it. So like I'm finding these new things as I'm getting older that really are giving me a lot of motivation and drive. And I think that's something that like if I can take a step back, I'm like, awesome. Like pat myself on the back that I'm finally doing that for myself. Yeah. You know what I mean?
All right, well, we're going to let you off the hook pretty easy. Before we finish up, I would just love to know, again, selfish question. As someone who, for me, the competitive stuff that resonates really highly with me. And I'm trying to put myself into different facets of life and trying to grow and replace certain competitive desires with business or careers. But what is something like on the bucket list that you want to achieve or have you thought of? Because like when you're growing up, for me, playing college basketball, like, man, I want to get a Division I college basketball scholarship. And I dedicated every living moment of my childhood to achieving that goal. And so now I'm still kind of looking for that as an adult. Do you have something that in your mind, you're like, that would be super dope, or like, I would love to do this?
I would love to be on a stage with you at a music festival.
Oh, yeah?
And just, you know.
I would figure that out, man.
Yeah. I would love to have a beer with some of your boys who I love in the music world. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we just called one of them.
That would be sick.
We just called one of them.
That would be cool. I am like, and half joking, by the way. I'm a music lover.
I'm not half joking at all.
I love music, man. I tell my wife, if I could die and come back, I'd be a musician. It's like the one thing to me that eclipses the feeling of playing in front of 100,000 people on a sports team.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it's pretty cool. Like, SC with 95,000, you don't really think, you're like, this is awesome. But to be on a stage in front of 100,000 and just knowing that you're controlling the whole damn energy of a building is like, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, that's what I would just like. So yeah, I'd love to be on stage, man. We can throw some T-shirts out to the fans, and whoever comes on, like, that would be freaking awesome.
We'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out.
Bucket list stuff.
It's hard to ask you bucket list stuff because you've won a Heisman,
and it's you know, I'm
first round draft pick in the NFL.
This is gonna sound awful, but people ask me this all the time. Like, I've been to maybe 2 NFL games in my life that I actually watched from the stands, right? And everyone was like, oh, I'm like. And it sounds bad, but I'm like, I have no desire to go to an NFL game and sit and watch, like, but like even a Super Bowl, which sounds really bad because the Super Bowl is a bucket list for a lot of people. It's an incredible event. Yeah. I played in a Super Bowl. I'm like, I don't really care to go watch the Super Bowl, and that sounds bad, but it's just like, I was just so fortunate to be able to do a lot of things. It might be similar in your profession, or you just like, you know, like,
it is not similar. But
maybe not similar, but I'm like saying, like, you know, you get to do a lot of cool stuff and you meet a lot of cool people. It's like second. It's your life. It's what you do.
This is one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So I love to travel more. That would be great. And I would like, so this is pretty cool. I want to be able to. And it might happen. We'll see. My older son is a big athlete, and if he, I don't know what he can play, maybe he plays college football or whatever. I want to like be at his first start, or like I did, like I guess it's not really a bucket list, but like that is like one thing that's
of course, yeah.
Like, and obviously my little ones, you know, too. But like, he's kind of following in my footsteps in that regard, and paving his own way and his own journey, and like. That would be really cool to like. I already like his first high school start. Like I already told my guys at Fox, like I'm gonna miss the show, boys. Like I'm not missing that. That's a Friday night, or I'll fly. I'll somehow get there to wherever we're at that Saturday morning, because that is like one thing that like I like really want to do. That's boring. I should have.
That's not boring at all.
You know, one of my greatest sporting events.
I think I saw the video of his first touchdown pass.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, dope.
One of my best sporting events I went to, Duke, Carolina. At Cameron Indoor.
Oh, man.
In 08 or 9. Carolina wasn't very good that year.
Okay.
So and Duke was really good. I think John Shire. I think he was a point guard. We don't like Shire.
No, I'm a Carolina fan. Like,
I know you're a Carolina fan.
We'll edit this part.
But I'm saying that was like, so we went, and the person I went with, and I know Coach K actually fairly well. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. He was good to me in my high school career.
He's just awesome. He's Coach K. And so we had like this whole VIP treatment, because I was with some Duke grads, and like it was just this whole awesome like experience.
They're having fantasy camp right now. Like
Are they?
now, yeah. The fantasy camp's
sick,
going on.
So we went into his locker room or his office, like just hung out. Mm-hmm. We had literally.
Was it the one you had to take the elevator up?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, okay.
We stayed at the hotel that's on campus right there, the whatever it's called, and it was just cool. That was a bucket list like sporting. I like sporting events, so like. Army Navy is one I want to go to. I want to go to that in December.
How does the Duke Carolina compare to? Is USC UCLA? Is that how do they?
It's different.
Yeah.
It's so regional. Like the South in football, obviously, is SEC, Big Ten country. Like that's all I got. It's all I got out there. Basketball, like there's some like obviously Carolina and Duke are just powerhouse basketball. Like it is like
Yeah, I was born on a hospital on the street that connects the two.
Yeah, so you lived it. Like that doesn't exist out here.
Yeah.
Now UCLA, the history, maybe the richest history in college basketball history with John Wood and all that.
Yeah.
But it's a different West Coast sports is different. I mean, you've lived out here long enough to know like football. A lot of like if you're winning, okay, they'll show up. If you're not, it doesn't really matter because we have 47,000 pro teams. Like. You know, you're not getting a lot of that in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You're getting Bama football, and that's something that I appreciate that about college sports because it's just like it is just like the fans are what make college sports unique. I think.
Yeah.
I got a lot of bucket list sporting events that I'd love to go to, but that's about it, man.
Well, if you need an Uber driver, call your boy.
We're going on stage, man. Get me on stage.
Hey guys, I mean, one of your friends is performing at the Greek in like 2 days. You know, like we just called the guy.
We should do that.
We should go.
When is that? That's 2 days.
Saturday. If you want to go, I'll call and get us tickets. Well, you don't have to.
I got my son's 2-year-old birthday party.
We'll rain check it.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll rain check it. All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, dude. Thanks so much, dude.
Of course, man.
That was awesome.
Fun, dude.
Cut.
Cut.
Fantastic.
Hopefully that one.